Noise.
How is
It is a very good evening and welcome to Sly Media TV. Welcome to The Candidate. My name is Perfect Shongwane. Like always, every week we bring you this program from 6 p.m. where we invite candidates from different political parties to interrogate issues and the goings on in their political parties. And tonight, like we have promised, we have Senator Douglas Mwonzora, who is the leader of MDCT. And we want to deal with issues that are happening in that political party. We also want to have a reflection of the just ended by-elections and also look or forecast into 2023 as we are going into 2023. Remember that in 2023, we're going to be having a general election, and we are going to be talking about that as well. Let me welcome you to the program, Senator Douglas Mwonzora, and welcome to Sly Media TV.
Oh, thank you very much, Perfect, for inviting me. I want to tell you that we don't take this for granted. So thank you very much. And I want to say to all of the Zimbabweans who are listening, I hope they are well and good, and I wish them the best.
Thank you so much. Before we go into the issues on what we want to discuss about and focus on, we are going to take a short break, and when we return, we are going to go straight into the issues. But before we take a break, let me say to those that are watching, you can go ahead, like our page, you can share our page, you can also invite others to be part of this discussion, part of the discussion that we have every week. We're going to take a short break now. Stay tuned.
When you think of having the best, world-class, hassle-free, corporate or personal events, think Real Sound, offering a wide range of products and services with different sizes for LED and TV screens to suit different occasions. There's state-of-the-art PA systems that give you real sound. When it comes to event lighting, Real Sound is the best, not to mention the Sparkles machines. Want to appear in another planet? Try the cloud and smoke machines. There's also top executive furniture for corporate events. For all your virtual meetings, look no further. Get in touch for a free quote for your next event. Contact Real Sound via email or phone number. Real Sound, just passion.
With 2023 beckoning and the election frenzy in the country becoming more stronger each day, politicians are increasingly becoming visible, making more and more promises.
Primary education from grade 1 to grade 7 must be provided completely free.
Every village, in 3 years, there will be a ball in Orana solar.
Patinongopinda tunhu chokutanga kukudzorera pamakasiwa na Mugabe. Toda kudzorera maticha kwavaiva kwokuti ticha aizikanwa semunhu aitenga zikoti zheadmaster nenyaya yokuti anga ane udzamu nedignity.
But are these promises going to be fulfilled? The electorate is pondering on who to vote for in the council, parliamentary, and even presidential election. We bring you The Candidate, where we interrogate their plans, their manifestos, their programs, to make sure that we give you information to make a choice on who to vote for. The Candidate on Sly Media TV every Wednesday from 6 p.m. Welcome back to The Candidate, and like I said, we have Senator Douglas Mwonzora on the seat, and we are going to be discussing a number of issues that are going on in the political party that he leads, MDCT. Let me start by asking you, Senator Mwonzora, how are you?
I am very well, Perfect. I'm very well. And we had elections in 2000 on the 26th of March. We did not do well in those elections, And after that, we held a press conference where we discussed with members of the public regarding our attitude towards what had happened. We congratulated the winners, and we pledged to work well with the winners together in Parliament and in Council for the betterment of the people of Zimbabwe. After that, the party was able to hold key organ meetings, the National Standing Committee, the National Executive, and the National Council. We made far-reaching resolutions, and we are very buoyed by those resolutions, and we are motivated once more. So we are okay. We are very, very well.
And you speak about the by-elections. Obviously, there are reflections to be made. From the lenses of the MDCT, what reflections do you have with regards to the outcome of the by-election?
Well, first of all, the observation we have is that this is one of the most apathetic by-elections in living memory. And one election that dramatizes this apathy is, I think, a Kazo election in Matabeleland North, where the winner won with 27 votes, beating his rival who had 5 votes. So with the 27 votes, somebody is going to council. But it was an election that was an eye opener to us. Number one, we need to look at the messaging, not the content of the message, but the reach of the message to the electorate. We are working on that. We are also looking at the structures of the party and the general administration of the party elections. All this is coming from the lessons that we learned when we did our post-mortem on the by-elections. We certainly were down, but we are not out, and we have taken this as a learning curve. We draw inspiration, of course, from the fact that throughout its history, the MDC tends to do badly in by-elections. After the parliamentary elections of 2000, we had a by-election. I think it was the Bikita West. We did not do well there. And we have had subsequent by-elections, including by-elections after 2018, when we were still together as the MDC Alliance. There were a number of by-elections that took place before the coming in of COVID and the Supreme Court judgment. We had by-elections in, I think, Wedza, where I think it was 875 votes for the winner, who was ZANU-PF, versus 65 for the MDC Alliance, led by Advocate Chamisa then. Mwenezi, we had another by-election, 600 votes for ZANU-PF and 18 votes for the MDC Alliance. Cholocho, we had 404 for ZANU-PF and I think 21 votes for the MDC. And then Shurugwi, I think ZANU-PF had 396 to about 6 votes of the MDC. So we have tended to not to do well in the by-elections. So these by-elections results and the way they took place became a big eye-opener for us, a big learning curve for us, and we have learned our lessons. We were out-messaged, we were out-organized, and we were out maneuvered when it came to the actual conduct of the election. So we need to up our ante as the party, and we have come up with a strategy of bringing up our fortune. So it was a big learning curve, and we are very, very grateful that this has happened with 1.5 years to go to the election. So 1.5 years is a very, very long time in politics. We were magnanimous, and we congratulated those who had won. Of course, we saw a lot of people who did not know how to handle a success, a lot of harassment, a lot of jibes, a lot of unpleasantness. But this is to be expected given the nature of some of the people we were dealing with. But we are happy for those who won. We are happy that we are going to go back to the drawing board as the MDCT and come up with better strategies. We promise Zimbabweans, we promise our supporters that we are going to do very, very well.
That is in 2023. Let me say to you, going into the by-election, I want to quote some of the messages that you said to the electorate, especially in an interview where you said that MDCT inenge yakakunda zvine mutsindo nekuti iri forecast. In hindsight, when you listen to yourself there, what do you think happened? Why didn't we not see that?
Well, it was focused, but the problem is that maybe it did not get its message to the electorate well. And it fell victim of propaganda. The main propaganda was that we were an appendage of ZANU-PF. We did not do enough by way of messaging, of getting the correct, the true message to the electorate. And therefore, our information did not get to the electorate with enough, deep enough penetration that we would have wanted. So yes, we remained a very focused party. And at that point in time, we were convinced that our message had gotten to the people. We were convinced that our structures were as intact as what our organization, our organizing team was telling us. So it turned out to be otherwise, and we have learned our lesson. And we have said we lost this by-election, and we have said that we are going to try. We draw inspiration from what Mandela said: a saint is a sinner who keeps on trying.
So you will keep on trying. Let me also say to our listeners and those that are watching, you can keep on sending in your comments. We're going to be reading your comments and allow Senator Douglas Mwonzora to respond to those comments. Senator Mwonzora, as we continue, when we reflect at the by-elections, there are members in the corridors of the MDCT where you find that some members are saying you are a non-performer. You did not perform according to expectation, and they want you out of leadership of that political party. What would you say with those concerns?
Well, first of all, I am the president of the party, and ultimately I bear responsibility for what the party does, and I bear responsibility for the performance of the party. The MDC that I lead has done well in other areas in the past. It did not do well in these by-elections, and I do take responsibility as its leader. And that is why after the by-election, we convened meetings of the key organs, the National Standing Committee, the National Executive, and the National Council. I also conducted a press conference myself as the president of the party. So the responsibility, of course, falls on you as the president. You can't say I was let down by this department or that person or that person. That person is under your supervision and so on. But let me just say that what you saw is not out of character of the MDC. The main challenge we had together with my senior leaders in the aftermath of a loss was to make sure that we keep the party intact, we keep the party together. The MDC has a tendency of disintegrating, a tendency of fighting amongst itself, a tendency of self-cannibalism following every defeat. In 2005, we did not do well And the party split in October of that year. Wolfman Ngube and the company blaming Tsvangirai for the loss. And then in 2013, again, we lost the presidential and the parliamentary elections. And in 2014, barely a year later, Tendai Biti and Mangoma led a rebellion against the president, blaming the president for the loss. Of course, there were attempts in this by-election to do the same. Of course, it did not have enough takers. Those people who are trying that, they did not have enough takers. So I was not going through something that my colleagues have not gone through. People always do that following a bad performance by the party. When the team loses, you blame the coach, of course. And this is nothing new. What is important is, as a leader, to maintain the germane unit of the party and its integrity. It is to lead the party through the doldrums back to a position of advantage. And this is what I am trying to do. Tsvangirai went through that twice, and I have gone through that. Of course, mine was a shorter one, and basically there is no split within the MDCT right now.
So when the results were announced, didn't you think of leaving the levers of power at the MDCT?
No, I did not. I did not because, first of all, this is a by-election. And historically, we have never done well in a by-election. So that was point number one. Point number two was I listened to the organs of the party. And the organs of the party were clear about what had caused our loss. We had the report from the elections department, the organizing department, the information department. They came and gave their reports. And from these reports, we are clear that the loss that we had nothing to do with the style of leadership of me as a person. And therefore, I do not think that there is any basis for me to leave the leadership of the MDC. After all, the MDC is going to be having its ordinary Congress. We were actually supposed to have it on the 30th of April until the National Council, in its wisdom, decided that we should have this Congress in June, in view of the state of the structures of the party that needed to be sorted first. So there is going to be a Congress, and I can tell you now that I am probably going to win that Congress very, very resoundingly, because I have been faithful to the ideals of the party, the resolutions of the party. For example, the issue of dialogue is a Congress resolution. It was a resolution of the extraordinary Congress and the National Council, and the directive that I must go and see the state president and engage him was a directive directly of the National Council, and I was just carrying their instructions. I have spoken of the need for dialogue. I have spoken of the need for rational disputation, because this is what the party stands for. The party is against the politics of hate, rancor, and acrimony. It wants a new politics. And I was happy to say, I was happy to observe that in the National Council, all the councillors were clear that we should not leave our message. Yes, it may pay for people to be seen to be behaving in a very radical manner and so on. But what is important is to behave in a manner that it will lead to immediate benefits of the Zimbabwean people. I am glad to say that after the elections, I had the winners, Advocate Chamisa in particular, advocating for what I have been advocating before. That is the issue of inclusive dialogue. So that message is being carried out by everyone. I had President Mnangagwa talking of dialogue. Advocate Chamisa has talked about dialogue. I have been talking about dialogue. So we are not out of message at all.
You are not out of message, and this is the message that you were preaching going into the by-election. Where do you think that you went wrong? Because if I'm listening to you correctly, you're saying that this is a message that is resonating with not only the electorate, but even the leaders of different political parties.
Yes, as I said before, the party did not explain itself to the electorate. And especially dealing with the propaganda that was being thrown at us by G40, by other organizations, and the other political parties. That propaganda was not sufficiently attended to, and the people were obviously confused as to what we stood for. And that is an easy thing to deal with. We are going back to the people. We are going to explain ourselves to the people. We are going to behave differently when it comes to social media. We are going to restructure and reform that department because it was an area of weakness of the MDC. It is not the message that failed us. It was the manner of dissemination of that message, the manner of making sure that that message got into the minds of every Zimbabwean. That apparently was not the case. And our key departments are dealing with that we are going to correct that.
Okay, so obviously the by-elections themselves, to a larger extent as a result of the recalls led by yourself and your party, do you regret going through that?
No, we don't regret recalls. We do recalls because a person has said they are no longer members of our political party. And the purpose of recall is to remove that person as a representative of your party and get that person subjected to the same electorate. If the electorate still want that person to represent them, irrespective of the new party that that person is in, then the electorate can choose that person. So we don't regret that. By the way, we are not the first leadership to do a recall. President Tsvangirai recalled 21 people in 2015, including Tendai BT and his colleagues. Advocate Nelson Chamisa recalled Thokozani Kupe in May of 2018 and did make attempts to recall us in Parliament, myself, Senator Komichi, and Senator Mwonzora. So this is a weapon that political parties use worldwide. But the position of the MDC was even made more problematic by the fact that the MPs that we had signed affidavits renouncing their membership of the party. There was absolutely no option for us but to take that route. The fact that those people are elected back into parliament is the wish of the electorate, and we are a slave of the majority. If the electorate want Tendai BT back, they will have their Tendai BT back. If they want their Amos Chibaya back, they will have him back, but representing his new political party. So we are not unhappy that some people have won their seats back into parliament. That is what the electorate has decided. And we must be seen to be respecting that. And we have respected that as the MDCT.
There are some members of parliament that are still in the August House, and these have not been called. They are in parliament under the MDC alliance ticket, and but they have also shown their allegiance to Triple C. They have been attending Triple C rallies. What are you going to be doing about that? Are you going to be recalling them? Are you going to ignore that?
Well, I don't know. That is up to the leadership of the party. That is up to the National Executive, National Standing Committee, and the National Council of the party. It will, in the fullness of time, make its decision. But of course, I want to assure you that on our part, There is method in the madness. We are very, very clear about what we are doing. I want to assure our people that we are very, very clear about what we are doing, and we will take action in our own time. We are aware, of course, of pressures that we got from other political parties to recall certain people because of factional fights within those political establishment. It's not up to us to fight those wars and so on. I've said before, I was asked to recall certain members of parliament by a faction of their new party. And I don't take instructions from that faction of that new party at all.
Mm-hmm. And now let's talk about the issue of propaganda that you spoke about earlier, that you did not, as a political party, deal with going into the by-election properly. There are some members from your political party who, for instance, we had an interview with one Ziwai Metu, who was a chairperson of MDCT in Harare. And he says that he can confirm that you are an appendage of ZANU-PF.
Oh, thank you very much. In fact, Mr. Metu in that interview made a lot of allegations. The first one is that I am an appendage of ZANU-PF. The second one is that I had stolen party money. The third one, he was going after my family and so on. Now, the allegation that a person is a member of ZANU-PF is a weapon of choice of political opponents in this country. When Welshman Ngube broke away, he was called CIO. He was called a member of ZANU-PF. And when Tendai BT broke away in 2014, Welshman broke away in 2005. When Tendai BT broke away in 2014, he was labeled as ZANU-PF. By the people who were opposed to him. Ziwai Metu made those allegations, and the reason why he says we are an appendage of ZANU-PF is because we have taken dialogue on board. We have chosen dialogue as a method of interacting with ZANU-PF, and for that reason, then we are supposed to be ZANU-PF. Now, I just want to remind him that Robert Mugabe, Joshua Nkomo, he had dialogue with Ian Smith at Lancaster House. That didn't make them Ian Smith's people. And Morgan Tsvangirai in 2008, 2009, he had dialogue with Robert Mugabe. That did not make him Mugabe's person. Similarly, when I am having a dialogue or attempts a dialogue with a sitting president, I am simply following the precedent set by my predecessor. And the fact that right now we have not seen the benefits does not mean that the benefits are not there. Metu was just angry. He was just insulting. And a few things that he said, which made me doubt him very much. The first thing was that he was the most brilliant person. He was the most brilliant mind in the MDC. He was the most intelligent. And that secondly, that the MDC party was made up of morons and dunderheads, and that he was too special to remain within the MDC, and that he was approachable by any political party that needed him, and that he had snapped meetings that I had called. Now, I have never seen brilliant people call themselves brilliant. Albert Einstein never called himself a genius. We all know he was. Love Momadugu doesn't call himself brilliant. We know he was the best law student who ever lived in this country. And we have a lot of intelligent people who have achieved a lot of things for this country and its people, and they've never called themselves intelligent. And what I can only say is that my young brother Ziwai was very, very angry, was very, very angry at the steps we had taken against him. And these steps, we don't regret them. We were supposed to take those actions if we were to be a responsible leadership. I am not an appendage of ZANU-PF. That is why those people who accuse me never show you the evidence of that. They will just say it and leave it there. It is a weapon of choice. It is propaganda. If I can ask you, Perfect, if I was an appendage of ZANU, as they say, and if ZANU can successfully rig elections, as they say, why did ZANU not rig elections in my favor? Why did it leave me to lose? Why is that consistent with being an appendage of ZANU-PF? I am not an appendage of ZANU-PF. I remain the longest serving member and the most consistent member of the opposition. Right now, what Zimbabwe needs is what everybody is now talking about. We need dialogue to deal with electoral reforms. We saw it for ourselves, the violence that took place in Kwekwe, the violence that took place in Epworth and St. Mary's, as well as in Gokwe. We need reforms to get rid of that. We saw for ourselves President Mnangagwa banning meetings in provinces where he was having his political programs. And my meeting was banned in Matabeleland North when the president was having his meeting 300 kilometers away. So we need to reform this system. And in order for us to reform this system, this electoral system, we must engage in dialogue. And as I said, this was a very apathetic election. And for my brothers and sisters who won in the Triple C, there is a red light in the results. The Triple C won 19 seats. But if you take the cumulative total of their positive vote in the 19 seats, it's 129,000. ZANU-PF won in 9 seats, and the cumulative total of ZANU-PF is 128,000. That should be a cause of worry to the opposition. And we must address this together. We must address this through deliberate electoral reforms. And these electoral reforms will only be possible if we engage in dialogue. This is because ZANU-PF, even as of now, enjoys a supermajority in parliament.
So accusations, Senator Mwonzora, are that still on the issue of you being an appendage of ZANU-PF, are that you obviously have not been attacking ZANU-PF the same way that you have been attacking CCC. They also say that you are an appendage because you were sent to destroy the MDCT, which you have successfully done.
Well, the Triple C attacks Douglas Mwonzora more than it attacks Mnangagwa. It attacks Douglas Mwonzora daily. Right now, they are doing it. Now, it's a case of the pot calling the kettle black. The CCC, for example, has deployed Ruhanya 24/7 on the MDC alliance. It has deployed Alex Magaisa. It has deployed Jonathan Moyo, not to deal with Mnangagwa, but to deal with me. They have a lot of things to say about me and very little to say about themselves. Now, coming to the issue of the criticism of the Mnangagwa government, I want to tell you that I have been actually at the forefront. And here is how I've done it. When Cecilia Chimbiri, Joanna Mamombe, and the other lady were allegedly abducted, and there were allegations of human rights abuses against them, I am the person who raised this in Parliament with the Minister of Home Affairs, with the Minister of Justice. And when there was that murder in Guero, I am the person who raised this with the Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of State Security, and the Minister of Justice. If you go to Hansard, you will see a lot of criticism for we have had for ZANU-PF and its policies. In my addresses, and I want you to go to my address in Zimbabwe grounds about what we need, we want to see being done in Zimbabwe. I was directing at ZANU-PF, but there is confusion among the opposition people to think that criticism of a political party is equal to insulting the political party. And when they insult Mnangagwa, when they insult Chiwenga, when they insult ZANU-PF, they take that as being opposition. You can criticize without insulting them. I found it not wise to insult people I was asking to come to the table to dialogue with. And we had to create the atmosphere conducive for dialogue. So yes, I have criticized the government. I criticized the President Mnangagwa right in his face about the conditions under which he had called the by-elections and the conditions under which the by-elections were going to be held. One-on-one, I said it to him that I didn't think that it was wise that what he had done. There were no reforms and so on. Now, the other people, for example, the other political parties, they float information around and expect everybody to swim with it. And if they are shouting at government, they expect everybody to follow suit. Now, I have had embarrassing moments. For example, I was told that BT had been abducted, and I was preparing a statement to lambast the government on abducting Tendai BT, only to hear from the party that it was false, from himself, Tendai BT, to say it was false. We were told that Advocate Chamisa had been shot at, and we were outraged by that. And as we were preparing our statement, we began to develop our own doubts about whether that was true or not. So, in insulting ZANU-PF, I haven't done that. And if that is opposing, then I don't want to oppose like that. But criticizing ZANU-PF, I have done it more effectively than any other political leader right now.
Because you spoke about the Zimbabwe grounds, the rally that you had at Zimbabwe grounds, Senator Komichi is on record saying that over 62,000 people attended that rally. Where do you think why do you think that those people did not then translate into votes in Harare?
Well, first of all, I hope you understood the joke behind what Komichi said. Komichi was saying that the crowd that we had approved at Zimbabwe grounds was more or less equal, if not more, than the crowd that had been pulled by Triple C in the same grounds. And Fadzai Mahere had then estimated their crowd at 60,000. And Morgan Komichi was then saying ours is 62. Basically saying that it was more than theirs. So unfortunately, people didn't understand the joke at that point in time. Of course, they were not 62,000. There were a lot of people there. But remember, at this point in time, we had called people from all over, not necessarily people in the constituencies that was being the constituencies that were being contested. So it was, yes, we have said, and we have said, and I'll repeat it, we did not do well in these elections. We have not blamed anyone for our failures. We have blamed ourselves, and we are going to take the corrective action. And I'm sure that this is the first time that a political party is accepting that it has not done well in the elections. It has not blamed someone extraneous We have not done that.
So let's go back to the accusations and allegations thrown at you by Zivaimet, one of which is the issue of misuse of funds. He claims that first and foremost, you promised him that you were going to give him 10,000 US dollars as campaign money, and that never came. You had promised him that that money was going to come from the government grant given to MDCT. He also claims that the treasury of the party sent a fake proof of payment to Harare province when they wanted to pay. Actually, you asked them as a party to borrow, and then the party was going to pay back. That money never came.
Well, first of all, perfect. I am the president of the party and not the treasurer of the party.
Yes.
So the issues of disbursement of funds to candidates, to whoever, is done by the treasury. That's not my job. I don't dish out money to candidates. And Metu obviously knows that he is not telling the truth. He's lying. That I ever gave him any money or promised him any money at all. The way monies are handled within the MDC is that whenever there is money, there is an organ called the Finance and Administration Committee. This is the committee which is chaired by the Secretary General, and he has got other officers of Congress who are there, the Treasurer, the Organizing Secretary, women and youth. They are represented in the Finance and Administration. It is the committee that makes the allocation for the expenditure, to say we are devoting so much to elections. And then it breaks that down to say each candidate is going to receive such a amount of support. So it is not true that I would do the disbursement like that. He basically is saying that I bribed him into being a candidate, and that is not true. That is false and basically malicious. But hello, perfect.
Yes, I can hear you. You can go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the allegations are very, very false. First of all, if you want to see that he is just lying, he does not even know the amount that came from government. He misrepresents the amount that came from government. In the interview that he had with Lynette Manzini, he says the MDC received $245 million. That's not true. The MDC received $149 million. And he says he is of the opinion that I abused the party funds because we were unable to pay a debt of $500 for a service provider. Now, the fact that a party says we can't pay this debt does not mean, one, it is broke. It is not within the expenditure that is authorized. And there was a lot of attempts to milk money from the party using public events. And we have actually the amount that is talking about the $500 was paid before the meeting took place even. It was in respect for a PA system that was being supplied by an outside supplier. When his group wanted the same money, they were not given the same money. And I dare say that Mr. Metu made a very, very important admission in his press conference. And it was an admission that he had used the $50,000 for his constituents, for his one constituency. Where had that money come from? What was it supposed to cover? Was it supposed to cover his constituents only, or it was supposed to cover other candidates as well? So there are a lot of things which I can't discuss here. It's still subject matter of internal proceedings.
To the tune of $50,000?
Yes, I'm talking about the $50,000 to say that he makes an admission that he used the $50,000 for his constituents, his one constituents. And I'm just putting a rhetorical question without going too much into this detail as to where did this money come from, number one. Number two, how many constituencies was it supposed to cover? Number three, if it was supposed to cover more constituencies, was it right to divert it into one constituency only? So it's a serious submission that he made. And I'm not surprised that after he made that admission, he has resigned. We wanted to take him to task on that very issue.
Speaking of his resignation, he also claims that he was barred from entering the Harvest House, the MDCT headquarters, because you hired people to harass him, to bar him from entering the National Council meeting. Is this a show that the DNA of MDCT is a DNA of violence?
There was no violence that he alleges. Actually, there was no violence against him. Nobody touched him. No one beat him up. The fact of the matter, Perfect, is that Mr. Metu was suspended on Tuesday. And he was suspended by the National Standing Committee on Tuesday over certain potentially criminal activities. And this National Council meeting was on Friday. So on that Friday, he pitched up to the National Council, and he came with a bus full of people from Epworth, 45 people. And he had, I think, 5 bouncers that he was with. And he wanted to forcibly get into Harvest House. Now, we couldn't allow him to get into Harvest House, firstly, because he was under suspension. A person under suspension doesn't go to the place of work. It's a basic law. It's a basic practice. Allowing him to attend a meeting while under suspension was to treat him as a special case. And we had no reason to treat him as a special case. He was under suspension. He was not allowed at Harvest House, but he brought strangers with him. And he tried to bulldoze his way into a Harvest House. I now know that he was carrying with him a letter of a vote of no confidence in me. I didn't know that at that point in time. But every political party has got rules. And if he was a responsible person, what he should have done is to wait for the disciplinary hearing and put his case across. But he chose to use force to get into Harvest House. As you saw, he was able to hold his press conference 20 meters from the entrance of Harvest House, and nothing happened to him physically.
Yes. Okay, we are now going to turn to questions from our viewers and allow you to respond to some of those questions that are coming in. And I'm going to read these comments. Sibongile Nyati says, Munu uyu ana nyadzi zvachose, ana zvanoziva. Watson Fuyani, someone says, Murikuti Westira time, Dagi doesn't know what he's talking about. Why are you now so... Hey, the comments are coming in so fast, and I'm losing. Mariama Citizens, Yamaitambisa Ichaku Jimbisai, that's another one. Adzizi politics, ndeje chipangano ijo. Munofunga kuti kutuka ndo politics, shame on you. Responding to someone who had said, CCC Nyuchi Zakurumai. Let me see another one here. Bambo politics muchadzirega zvenyu pachapiwa ZANU-PF ne-CC mari zhinji imi muchapiwa change ndo pamuchaona kuti politics hadzisi dzenyu. Some of the comments there, Senator Mwonzora, from our viewers.
Well, very few comments. Mostly it's insults, But let me try to answer those that I was able to get as questions. Somebody says, I must be ashamed. Ashamed of what? Ashamed of losing the by-elections? No, I am very proud that we participated in by-elections. We lost those by-elections and we admitted that we lost those by-elections. And we have the temerity, we have the perseverance, we have the ability to raise ourselves, to gather ourselves together and persevere and go ahead and gun for the elections next year. So wait and see. You are going to see a rejuvenated MDCT. You are going to see a change in how the MDC does its things, and the fight is far from over. But we will not abandon politics of civility. We will not abandon rational disputation. We will not abandon the issues of dialogue, because this is good for Zimbabwe. The issues of the political parties' finances, of course, these are monies that were ruled by the courts after so much protracted legal battles to be for us. Now, the CCC has 19 members of parliament, and I hope it qualifies for government funding and it will get its share. We are looking forward to working together well in parliament. The differences that we have are for outside parliament. When we are in parliament, we are doing the people's job, and we must work together, CCC, MDC Alliance, ZANU-PF, to make sure that we deliver Zimbabwe from the economic doldrums that it is currently is in.
There is another one here that says, Mr. Perfect, Senator Mwonzora is going to be the first opposition leader to be president of the country. Another one says, ask Dagi Kuti, where is Chiposi? What is happening between him and Chiposi? Then someone says, when are you officially joining ZANU-PF? Another one again says, are you considering joining CCC following the defeat? Let's deal with those.
Well, first of all, I am the president of a political party, which has 68 members of parliament. And I am the president of a political party that is very, very proud. I have no intention of joining another political party, either led by Mnangagwa or led by Chamisa. I am their opponent, and I'm a genuine opponent, and so on. So we are not going to be joining other political parties. Are we going to be working together? Of course, we have to work together for the benefit of the Zimbabwean people. We work together in council, where we are represented by our councillors. We must work together in parliament, where we are represented by our parliamentarians. And after all, I am the leader of the opposition in that parliament. And what that means is that I am the leader even of those MPs, while in parliament, even those MPs that belong to the CCC. There is only one leader of the opposition in parliament, and so on. So it is my hope that we will be able to work together well. That is my desire. That is the desire of my party. We want people to be able to accept it when they don't do well. And when we do well next time, we want people to admit that as well, because it is coming. It is not far. We have always risen from a disadvantage, and we will rise from this disadvantage. We have the mental capability of and the mental strength of disregarding the adversity that has happened. There is a question that has been asked about Mr. Fungai Chiposi, and it is whether there is anything, what is going on between myself and him. No, there is nothing going on between myself and Mr. Chiposi, and I had opportunity to listen to his interview with, I think it was with Lynette Manzini, and he makes it clear that the relationship between myself and him is one of mutual respect. He says in that interview that he has respect for me, I have respect for him as well. So there is no fight between myself and him. But Mr. Chiposi is a fully grown up man. He is a Zimbabwean protected by the constitution that I was part to drafting. And that constitution says everybody has freedom of association and so on. Whether Mr. Chiposi wants to remain in the MDC alliance, he is most welcome. If he wants to leave, then it is his choice. I don't know, but I do not have any issues with him at all. I know not of issues that the party as an institution has with him.
And still reading the comments, someone here says that ask him, Kupe, now Metu, and the other people who left the party have accused him of abusing, misusing the funds. Could all these be wrong? That's number one. As you lost most of the parliamentary seats, are you qualified for the government finance? That's another one. Another one says, Mr. Perfect, ask Mr. Mwonzora, is he claiming that the 66 members of parliament that he says are MDCT, is he claiming even including Wiwa, Job Wiwa Scala? Because we know he is a CCC.
Well, first of all, I don't want to talk about Job Sikala at all, because his name has been used and abused in interviews that I always will be having. And therefore, this is not an interview, Job Sikala, it's my interview. And therefore, I don't want to talk about him. You are saying Kupe accused me of abusing party funds. But the same Thokozani Kupe wrote a letter to the police exonerating me from the allegations. She wrote, she has something in black and white that she wrote to the police to say our Secretary General does not hold money at all. And whether Kupe changes her mind the next minute that we quarrel, you have to see that this is now a product of a quarrel. Mr. Metu says, I stole money because we refused to pay $500. I thought he was going to say, I stole so much amount of money and used it for such and such. Apparently, he does not go beyond that, beyond our refusal.
He actually says that after receiving the money, you even failed to pay election agents that were at a polling station in the by-elections.
Well, they have to tell us which polling agents are those. Now, if they are polling agents in his constituency, why are they not paid when he had $50,000 with him? Why hasn't he paid the polling agents? Apart from that, which other polling agents is he talking about? Again, this is somebody who is just waffling, somebody who is just lying. I saw in his interview, he says that we have not been able to pay our workers, we have not been able to resource our departments, and so on. Again, that is not true, because our workers are there. They have not filed anything for unfair labor practice. Our workers were remunerated. Now, who is responsible for remunerating workers within the MDC? It is the Secretary General. It is not the chairman of Harare province at all. So he does not even sit in the Finance and Administration Committee. And he does not sit in the National Executive. after every 4 months, the
Yeah.
national executive receives an income and expenditure statement from the Secretary General. Now, I don't blame Mr. Medu because he doesn't sit in the national executive and therefore will not be able to tell that these reports were given or not. And of course, we don't make those reports public. He is a very bitter man. Unfortunately, he thought he was, as he says, a special man, intelligent, more intelligent than every other person in the MDC. I wouldn't advise the younger leaders to think like that. We say knowledge, true knowledge begins with the acknowledgement of ignorance. And
let me take this opportunity,
necessary to be
Senator Mwonzora,
to have humility.
To say thank you so much for your time. We have come to the end of tonight's program, but let me say there are quite a number of issues that we would have spoken to, and I want to think that we will have another sit down where we are going to be dealing with other issues. Obviously, we wanted to look at what's the way forward from here, and we also wanted to look at issues and claims that makasirwa danga risina mombe dzakayenda, and for you to demystify that. But we have come to the end, and thank you so much for your time.
Danga rine mombe iroro dzakawanda kudarika dzakabva.
Regaititende Senator Mwonzora for his time, and thank you so much to our viewers. We will continue to have these discussions here, and it is the candidate. As we are going into 2023, we'll be bringing more candidates from different political parties. My name is Perfect Hlongwane. Have a good day.